people. I feel a little bit intimidated talking in front of all of you because of your incredible expertises, but I'm going to just launch right through, especially because Patrick asked me to talk about the point of wonder, but I realized that so much of what I've learned is by mistakes. And so as you're thinking about moving forward, I wanted to think that perhaps you could think of embracing your mistakes and thinking also about flowing like water instead of moving forward like a machine. Because it's really important to me anyway, when you're doing these kinds of projects, to really listen and move yourself forward in that kind of way. So just very fast, a lot of you guys know this stuff already, and I'm a producer and a presenter and all those kinds of things, but in my organization, EcoArts Connections, we bring the arts together with science, social justice, indigenous, and other ways of knowing to try to inspire people to live more sustainably. And we do this by presenting performances, exhibits, talks, tours, all different kinds of things, and it's recently even a film. And I think the most important for this conversation is we work transdisciplinarily or transsectorally, and we think of each discipline as a different kind of species with different acronyms, different fashions, different ideas of what's on time, different ways of seeing the world. There's a whole list, which I won't go into right now. But the first thing that we wanted, or four things, I guess, actually, I'm going to quickly go through are the point of wonder, shifting your centricities, remembering wheels on suitcases, and joining head, heart, and hand. And so I'm going to launch into this quickly, and I've got my timer on, so hopefully I can do this quickly. So first thing some of you have been reading about is considering your point of wonder. This came from my first mistake. I wrote a little bit about it in the thing that I sent to Patrick. But for the public, in 2007, we asked the brilliant curator Lucy Lepard to curate an exhibit called Art and Climate Change, Weather Report. And as far as we know, if not the first exhibit of its kind, it was one of them in the United States. We were very proud of it. And it was presented in part at David's wonderful institution, the Boulder Museum of Contemporary Art. And one of our partners was the National Center for Atmospheric Research. And Lucy Lepard chose 51 artists from around the US and the world. And we asked them who would be interested in collaborating perhaps with a climate scientist. And 8 people came forward, and I went to my collaborator at NCAR and said, Linda, we have scientists, or we have artists who want to collaborate with scientists. I was so excited, and she said very dryly, what kind of scientists? We have buildings filled with them. And I did not know, because I didn't know at the time the difference between a middle atmospheric dynamicist or a hydrologist or geomorphologist. I have no clue. And they didn't know the difference between a performing artist or a performance artist or a social practice artist. And so we developed first mistake number 1, the point of wonder, which was an amazingly wonderful solution. And what it means is you try to figure out what is it that you're wondering about? What's the problem that you want to solve? What are you concerned about? What do you care about? And if you go from that point of wonder, you can look for other people who are also wondering or concerned or passionate about the very same thing. And this miracle happens when you work from this place, to me, because all of a sudden, the people who were too busy to talk to you, who care about that same point of wonder, suddenly will talk to you. And suddenly resources come forward. And suddenly it's just an amazing shift. And what happens often with scientists is they release their fear that they're not creative enough to talk with an artist. And the artists lose their fear that they don't know enough to talk with a scientist. And it makes everybody co-travelers along the same curiosity path if you work in that particular way. Second thing, and second mistake, is shift the centricities. And there are 2 of them here, going from me to we and uh-oh to aha. The first one, shifting from me to we, is thinking really about a Copernican shift. The science folks will remember this one. Pre-Copernicus, folks thought the Earth was the center of the entire universe, and all of the celestial bodies moved around the Earth, or us. Post-Copernicus, people realize that the sun is the center of our solar system, and the Earth is just one of many, many orbs that go around the sun. Sorry, the center of our solar system, not the universe. Similarly, I believe that those of us in the arts or science need to shift from the me of discipline-centric thinking to the we of challenge-centric thinking, meaning instead of thinking me, my discipline is the center of the universe and everything should revolve around us, think about shifting from the we, that my discipline is just one among many that revolve around the point of wonder, which in this case would be the sun. Second thing is to shift from uh-oh to aha. And I just love this cartoon because it's the uh-oh squad. And a lot of times those of us who are involved in climate change and other things that have these things that we have to fix right away, we get stuck in the uh-oh of, uh-oh, this horrible bad thing is happening or about to happen. And what you typically end up doing is just calling in the uh-oh chorus. And instead, if you shift the centricity from uh-oh to aha, then you often will shift from thinking about problems, which can be really depressing, and reframe to think about challenges, which is more invigorating and activating. You also often shift from casting blame to taking on responsibility. You shift from being against something to working toward something. You shift from living in the past to moving forward through the present to getting to the future as quickly as possible. The other thing is that you shift often from pushing information out to, which is often advertising or what I call SDA, sucky didactic art, to inviting people in to reflect on their own lives. And I have to say, we also have SDCC, which is sucky didactic climate change communication, which involves in the same way. Third thing, remember wheels on suitcases. This came from mistake number 3, asking already busy potential collaborators to do something new and add yet another thing to their plate. Not. How many centuries have we had wheels? How many centuries have we had luggage? Some brilliant person thought of putting them together, and now all over the world, we have wheeled luggage over flat surfaces, making it much easier to do both. Wheels on suitcases is about helping collaborators do what they already do better. For example, all scientists who have National Science Foundation grants have to do what are called broader impacts for their research. As artists, you can help them often reach hundreds, sometimes thousands more people with that research through the arts. On the other hand, arts folks, all people that have NSF grants often have money in their budget to pay for broader impacts. And there's such a disparity between how much scientists make and how much artists make. Oftentimes scientists will say to me, well, oh, we'd love your project. We don't really have any money. And I always ask them to define, well, what is your idea of no money? And they'll often say, oh, we just have, I don't know, a couple $1,000, $5,000, which an artist can do extraordinary things with. So think about wheels on suitcases and how you can help your collaborators and your collaborators can help you. Last one is think about the ecosystem of change from awareness to action and involving head and hand, bringing together science, arts, and sustainability together in the case of climate change or whatever head, heart, hand equation you guys have going. My mistake for the longest time was getting fixated with the head and the heart, thinking about science and the arts, but I've now realized I really have to get that hand in there. I really have to get people to shift to the kinds of things that we really need to be doing if we're going to make it through this time period. In summary, when looking for collaborators, you want to try to think about considering your point of wonder, looking for people who are also interested in your is to shift your centricities, first from me to we, and how we can work together on a challenge. Second, shifting from uh-oh to aha, from what's wrong to what could be right. And the third is remembering the wheels on suitcases, how might my wheels move someone else's luggage and vice versa. And the fourth is head, heart, and hand. Last thing to think about was, well, where do you find people to collaborate with? There's this, I just found about Active Voice, which is this brilliant organization in California, in San Francisco, and they have a whole ecosystem of change. I can put their information in the chat later, but they're looking at, okay, so their point of wonder would be the center of this flower. And they think about who's leading, who's doing cutting edge research in terms of my point of wonder. They don't use that term, but you know, who's funding it, the philanthropy, who's actively working on it from the grassroots. And they put together their partnerships in that kind of a way. Last slide. Where do you find collaborators? Everywhere. Again, just think about what's your question and what, and like David, you had so many great things. And I thought about when you talked about the Apple research, go for that first, man. Go where your heart is. The work is really hard. You really want to make it be invigorating and nourishing for you and everybody else around you in that partnership. And it makes things really wonderful to be working on. So that's all I know, the end. And God, look at that, 10 minutes exactly. Oh my God.